Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Victoria. Today is Sunday, and we are here gathered again to come together in celebration, to recognize the science of mind and spirit teachings, and to be together in community to do just what happened, which was to listen to Darlene sing a beautiful song. I think that was a Karen Drucker song, and to be immersed in spirit as we were in the beautiful, beautiful meditation by Reverend Joanna, the Chinook blessing. So thank you for everyone who is here today. My name is Lesia Cahoot, and I am a spiritual practitioner here at the Center for Spiritual Living, filling in for Reverend Carrie, who, again, even though she's taking a day off, is actually here in community with us. So, Reverend Carrie, since you are here, could I please ask you to do the opening treatment?
I would love to do that, Lesia. Thank you. So I just invite everybody to close your eyes if that's comfortable for you and just relax into your chairs and take a deep breath or two, just allowing yourself to become totally relaxed. And just hold these words into your heart today. Here and now, in this holy moment, let us just dissolve into God stuff. All that is eternal, all that is love, all that is divine. We are all in complete unity with the power that breathes us and the power that beats our hearts. We remember that we are eternal beings on a journey of endless unfoldment, never less, but always more. And our lives are dynamic and forever creating and forever alive and awake and aware. And so today I give thanks for this knowledge of the eternal potential of the human soul. And I give thanks for this teaching and for all the blessings it provides us. And as I do, I bless each and every one of you here today who share this journey to the unfoldment of absolutely wonderful lives. And I bless our beautiful practitioner, Lesia Cahoot, who delivers our message this morning and who reminds us of this indivisible power that governs all, and the special tools we've been given that show us the way to consciously use it in our lives. I bless all of you. I bless everyone who ever attends our center when we are there in physical, at our physical location. And all those who are online today live and all those who will be watching this video in the week to come. I'm so grateful you are here. I'm so grateful for your presence. I'm so grateful for all you do and who you be, for we're all on this journey together. And we share in the oneness, the one God that is ever present in each and every one of us. For this, I give great thanks to God, all that is, and to each of you for being here today. I say thank you, thank you, thank you, and yay, God.
Thank you so much, Reverend Carrie. Thank you for that beautiful, beautiful invocation slash opening treatment. So now just bear with me while I switch screens so that I can just have a few notes in front of me. Okay, so the last 4 weeks, the theme has been spiritual boot camp. That is the theme that we have had for January. And January traditionally is when all centers for spiritual living around the world go back to basics and talk about the foundations of the science of mind and spirit teachings. And the science of mind and spirit, for those who aren't familiar, is this big book, this tome that we use in classes and that we reference and that we go to. And the first 4 chapters really have everything that you would need to know about the science of mind. If you only read those first 4 chapters, you would get the gist of it. The rest of it is just diving deeper into it. So, for the last 4 weeks, we have talked about the three main aspects of this one thing that is going on. We've talked about the thing itself, which is that that ongoing spirit, that infinite potentiality, call it love, call it God, call it intelligence, call it source, call it what you will. We teach that there is only one thing going on and that this one thing interconnects everyone and everything. It is the foundation, the essence, the allness of being. And because there is only one thing going on, it stands to reason that each and every one of us are that thing. And not just that we're a part of it, we are that thing in its entirety. But what comes into play for us being human beings is that it expresses through and as us to the level of identification or awareness that we have of it and to the level that we identify ourselves as it. Then we talk about the way it works. And the way it works is basically the law or the creative aspect of this three-part entity, this three-part energy that is the allness of being. And the law is the part of this beingness that is the creative aspect of it. This is what we also call subjective mind. This is where an idea that we have or a thought that we have, an inspiration that we have, this is what it filters through. And because this is the area where also all beliefs, all thoughts, all ideas, all race consciousness, all collective consciousness, all memory of all time reside, any thought that we have, any inspiration that comes from this one incredible, amazing awesomeness that is the very foundation of everyone and everything, it filters through this swirling miasma of all of these thoughts and beliefs. And depending upon what beliefs are supercharged, super rooted, or the beliefs that we are holding on to, then that is what qualifies how our experience of life is. And that brings us to the way it works, or sorry, to what it does. And that is it shows up in form. It shows up as our life experience. So when we say that thoughts are things, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about this three-part process, these three elements of this one incredible, amazing energy, this vitality, this infinite potentiality. This is what is happening every moment of every day, and this is who and what we are. So, what I would like to do is, I would like to read the first chapter or the first paragraph of chapter 4. And chapter 4 is called How to Use It. And this really talks about the creative process, or how sort of an idea or a wave of potentiality ends up turning into form, or a particle of actuality. So, Ernest Holmes writes, one of the great difficulties in the new order of thought is that we are likely to indulge in too much theory and too little practice. As a matter of fact, we only know as much as we can prove by actual demonstration. Now, having been in spiritual studies, in consciousness studies for the past 4.5 years, the thing that just has landed for me like no other, the thing that I absolutely love about the science of mind and spirit teachings, is spiritual mind treatment. And spiritual mind treatment is a tool, it is a practice, it is, I think, so far in my studies, the most effective way to turn our thoughts into things, to turn or collapse those waves of possibility or potentiality into particles of actuality, to actually create the life experience that we want, that we desire, that we know way, 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 way deep down that we are totally capable of having, not even deserving of having, because we are that allness of being. So we are it already. So it's about, what is it that we're equal to? What is it that we're believing that we're capable of? And how do we make it happen? Well, spiritual mind treatment. So what I would like to do is this chapter, it's not very long, and because right now I am in class again for my 5th year, I would actually like to go through some of the paragraphs that are in this chapter and just sort of talk about them like we would in class. And so the next chapter, and all of this is going to have to do with spiritual mind treatment and how it it can be such an effective tool in our lives. The next chapter that I want to talk about, it is on page 53, for those of you who have your Science of Mind book there and you want to follow along, and paragraph 3. And in here, Ernest Holmes writes, thought should tend more and more toward an affirmative attitude of mind, to positive, stable, and above all else, toward a real unity with spirit that is already complete and perfect. Now, this book was written almost 100 years ago, and even at some point, Ernest Holmes said, "If you are still teaching the science of mind as if it is the only thing, as if it is the end all be all, as if it sort of like is the only way, you've kind of missed the point, because this teaching is open at the top, which means that it is organic, it is always evolving." And that is what Ernest Holmes wanted. That is what his intention was, that this is a teaching philosophy. So it needs to continue to evolve as the times evolve, as we evolve. And having been studying for 4.5 years and being in a class now where not only are we sort of using the science of mind and spirit as the foundation for our teaching, but we are also dissecting it and picking it apart and questioning everything. If we look at this paragraph and say and read where he says that above all else, toward a real unity with spirit that is already complete and perfect, the complete and perfect part, I mean, perfect is perfect is perfect. Even if perfection evolves, it just evolves into the next stage or next evolution of perfection. But the unity with spirit, I think if Ernest Holmes were to write this book again today, he would be a different person. He would be at a different level of evolution, and he would be writing as spirit, because even towards the end of his lifetime, he was saying, I am God. Not I am one of, a child of, a part of. I am God. So it is important for us that as we think, we really, really, really consider what it is that we believe, what it is that we truly believe and feel in our hearts. And step one of spiritual mind treatment is recognition. There is only one. And let's use God, okay, or energy. There is only one God. There is only one energy. There is only God. Step two is identification. It's not even unification anymore, it's identification. I am God. I am that infinite potentiality. I am universal energy. Okay. And that's, I think, where people get tripped up if they aren't practicing spiritual mind treatment every single day. This can be something that, you can get it intellectually, but until it really integrates, until it really infuses itself in your being, until you really believe that you are that same power that is the blazing sun in the sky, you are that power that keeps all of the stars, all of the planets, all of the galaxies from crashing into each other and just imploding the world as we know it. Until you believe that you are the ocean, that you are the forest, that you are the air that we breathe, that you are that very energy that is that activation and animation of every single cell and system in your body, it's not going to work. So I remember still going back to foundational class with Reverend Jonathan Zenz at CSL Toronto, where he would just drill into us that when it comes to spiritual mind treatment, which is a 5-step process, steps 1 and 2 are the most crucial. You really, really need to anchor yourself in the belief that there is this one thing and that you are that thing. Okay. So again, thought should tend more and more toward an affirmative attitude of mind that is positive, stable, and above all else, toward a real unity with spirit, or unity as spirit, that is already complete and perfect. So so that brings us to sort of, what is spiritual mind treatment? So there are a lot of us here who have taken classes, but I know that there are some of us here who maybe have not. And so spiritual mind treatment is a foreign thing. It's a phrase, it's a word, it's a term that is bantied about, but what is it really? So it's something that we talk about a lot in practitioner studies. And for the first year of practitioner studies with my teacher, Dr. James Mellon in Los Angeles, Every class, there would be someone who would do an opening spiritual mind treatment and someone who would do a closing spiritual mind treatment. And we were given one opportunity to write it out and read it. And after that, we always had to speak it. So let's break it down. So, spiritual mind treatment is a 5 step process. And there are two different kinds. There is one that is called realization, and another one which is called argumentative. And for the most part, we're going to focus on the first one, which is realization, because this is the one where you are treating or you are praying or you are knowing from a place of certainty, from that place that is so incredibly rooted and anchored in that identification that I am spirit, I am the allness of being. When you begin from that, knowing that that is the only thing that is going on, everything else, steps 3, 4, and 5, just kind of fall into place. So, step one is recognition. There is only one thing. Step two, I am that thing. And so as we move along, there is step three. Step three is really kind of like the intention for the treatment. So, whatever it is that's going on, whatever it is that you want to be treating or praying or knowing for, that is what step three is all about. And that's where typically we are saying, I know this, I declare this, I expect this. And it's always done in the first person, because even if there is someone who is on the receiving end of this treatment, it is all about shifting our own consciousness. It is all about us seeing past whatever is going on, whatever someone in front of us or we might be experiencing, whatever the condition is, whatever the feelings are, and to get behind that, to that underlying, that foundational, amazing awesomeness, that infinite potentiality, that ongoing creativity that we all are at our core, and to treat, to pray, to know from that. And then step four is gratitude. Because if you think about it, when you receive a gift from someone, what do you say? Thank you. And in spiritual mind treatment, one of the things that starts to, shift or continues that shift of consciousness or that movement of energy is gratitude. Gratitude actually raises our vibration. It keeps us up leveling. And so when we say thank you for something, when we step into gratitude for something, knowing through step three that it is already happening, that it is already here and now, not in the future. There's no will or going to happen in a spiritual mind treatment. But when we say, I am so grateful for this right here, right now, we are already shifting energy and consciousness just by being grateful. And then the last step of spiritual mind treatment is release. And that is when we just let it go and we just let, as some people say, God do its work. We let spiritual perfection just unfold the way it wants to unfold, the way it is meant to unfold. Now, this is such an amazing tool, and it can be used really, really well, or it can be kind of and so the two main ingredients that really, really make a difference, it's not just about the steps and it's not just about the perfect words, because you can have all the steps in order. You can mix them up if you want. You can have all the right words. But if there isn't feeling, if there isn't faith behind it, then chances are it's not really going to be very effective. So as we continue, I'm going to go to another paragraph, and I'm just looking at my notes here, and let's see. Okay, so now in this section in chapter 4, sometimes Ernest Holmes talks about practicing for yourself, and sometimes he talks about a practitioner practicing for someone else. But ultimately, like I said before, we are always treating for a shift in our own consciousness. We are treating to see beyond the condition to what is really the underlying truth that is always there no matter what, that is always inarguable, that is always unchangeable. The truth is the truth is the truth no matter what. So here's something else that he writes. A practitioner uses thought definitely and for specific purposes, and the more definitely he uses the law, the more directly will it respond to him. He goes on further to say in that same paragraph, while it is true that wrong conditions exist, they could not remain unless there were someone to experience them. Consequently, the experience must be in consciousness. Change the consciousness, and the false condition will disappear. And so, again, it's not about trying to fix something for yourself or for someone. It's not trying to get rid of something, because those beliefs, those thoughts, those memories, all of those are always going to be there. They're just always there. It is about shifting your perception. It is about shifting the way you see something. And if you can see past the struggle, the challenge, the sickness, the lack of money, whatever it is that you are facing, whatever it is that the person in front of you is dealing with, whatever it is that the person across the world is dealing with, when you can move beyond that and you can look to what is true no matter what, that that is where the treatment becomes effective. That is where shift starts to happen. That is where we see tangible change in our life experience. So this takes me back to class. When we first started doing our spiritual mind treatments in practitioner studies, even though we had already had to have taken classes on how to do treatment, then one of the things that I really, really appreciated and really valued in class was that Dr. James always had us work on a treatment, starting with what is the condition. So we had to identify what the problem was. Then we had to find the spiritual truth that was behind that problem, like the main underlying thing that would sort of negate it, if you will. And then we had to say what our intention was for the treatment, what we were going to treat for, and that's basically step 3 in the treatment. And then we would write our treatment. And throughout all of year 1 in practitioner studies, we had to do this every single class. And then in year 2, we started with a few classes, but after a while, we were already in doing our practicum. So we were actually practicing with actual clients. And so we weren't focusing on writing out the treatments anymore, because by the middle of year 2, everyone had become pretty proficient in practicing spiritual mind treatment. But to this day, when I think of spiritual mind treatment, I still think of it in those terms. When if I'm sitting with a client in front of me, or if I'm doing treatment for myself, or when we are praying together as the prayer team on Tuesdays, when we get together weekly to support each other in prayer and to support the community in prayer. No matter what is going on, no matter what is in front of me, no matter what I'm feeling, I think in terms of what is the condition? What is the thing that I want to address? What is the main problem, the main experience, the main situation? Because you want to be able to focus on something. You can do a beautiful spiritual mind treatment full of feeling, full of faith. But if it's kind of about everything and just kind of a blanket spiritual mind treatment, it won't be as effective as if something super laser focused and precise. So then, once you figure out what the condition is, then you go to the spiritual truth or the spiritual principle behind it. And that really is just kind of looking at the opposite. So let's have an example. One thing that a lot of people find challenges with is money. Okay. And so someone, just, I want more money in my life. I want more money. I don't have enough money. There isn't enough money. There isn't enough money in my bank account. I don't make enough money in my job. There just isn't enough money. Or something like, because I don't make enough money, I only have so much to spend on this. And if I spend it on this, it means I don't have it to put towards this. Okay. All of that speaks to lack. Okay, so that's what you're focusing on. It's not necessarily that, there isn't enough money in your life. You're focusing on the underlying belief is that there isn't enough. Okay, there isn't enough to go around. There isn't enough money. There isn't enough money in my life. There isn't enough, time, energy, can be transferred to that too. So, what's the spiritual principle behind it? Well, if we go back to step 1, there is only God. God is infinite in scope and creative by nature. Infinite means eternal. Infinite means limitless. Infinite means boundless. Infinite and forever expanding is constantly evolving. Creative by nature means that there's always something happening. There is always another evolution, another level of expansion, another something. There is always more that is on its way. There is always more that it's happening. Step two of treatment, I am God. I am that infinite potentiality. I am that infinite abundance that is the very nature of the world, that is the very nature of creativity. So if you are God, if you are God expressing, and God is infinite, and God is creative, and God is abundant, then there can never be any lack. So even though it can really feel, and like your bank account shows it, your wallet shows it, your credit card statement shows it, it is your responsibility to look past the bank statement, the credit card statement, your wallet, and go to, I am God. I am infinitely abundant. And as that infinite abundance, as that infinite prosperity, I am always attracting more prosperity into my life. Now, at first, that can sound like an affirmation. But as you put feeling into it, as you put faith into it, as you maybe tweak the words a little bit so that it actually lands for you, it becomes a spiritual realization. And that spiritual realization is then what allows you to shift from that belief of there isn't enough to there is always enough and there is always more on its way because I am an individualized expression of God and I am infinite abundance expressing now, today, and always. Okay? So that's kind of how it works. So there's a quote on page 164 of Science of Mind, which isn't in the first four chapters, but it's really, really, really important when it comes to spiritual mind treatment. And that quote is, in treatment, we turn entirely away from the condition because as long as we look at it, we cannot overcome it. So what Ernest Holmes is saying here is basically something that Joe Dispenza says. Where we put our attention, we put our energy. It's kind of like another spiritual principle that we say, what we focus on expands. So you can think about it, you can contemplate it, you can address it outside of treatment. But once you step into spiritual mind treatment, you do not bring in the condition. What you are treating from that infinite knowing, that allness of being, that 100% certainty that there is only love, there is only compassion, there is only beauty, abundance, prosperity, harmony, order, everything that is in line with the nature of God. That is what you are treating from and as. So we've talked about what spiritual mind treatment is. We've talked about how effective it can be. We've talked about, why it can work. We've talked about the steps involved. And now what I want to talk about is why aren't people doing it and why doesn't it always seem to work? So the title of my talk today is called Choosing Matter, Creating a Life by Design. And in that title, when the words choosing matter came to me the other day in a conversation, I sort of had an aha that I hadn't had before because it really made me think about how we are always choosing and what the word matter means. And so when we talk about how thoughts are things, then we talk about how, something that is an idea or a thought that is, you can't hold it, it's not tangible, filters through in this creative process and becomes something that we experience, something that we see, something that we hold, right? But those beliefs that that thought has to filter through, that is the super, super important to focus on because those beliefs are what qualify that thought. Those beliefs are what qualify the choosing. Those beliefs are what end up qualifying the matter of our lives or the matters of our lives. So it's not just about, what is it that we're choosing and how is it that we're choosing? It's that the activity of choosing itself in and of itself as it's happening is influenced by those beliefs, and then the matter that shows up, the matter that is our life experience, that it is a direct reflection of those beliefs that are in play. So I want to focus a bit more on beliefs, because beliefs are what end up being so, so crucial when it comes to living a life either by design or by default. When we know what our beliefs are, we can address them. When we don't know what our beliefs are, then it's hard to do. And that's when we end up living a life by default. So, so one of the things that comes to mind, as I think about this, is that you really need to know what your foundational life belief is. Because in all the various areas of our lives, in our home, our relationship, in our health and well-being, in our finances, in our creative expression and work, we may be at different levels of consciousness, of activity, of integration in all of those levels. But all of those levels, no matter how great some of them are going and maybe not so great others are going, there is a foundational life belief that is at play. And if that foundational life belief isn't rock solid and in tune with the nature of universe, with the nature of God, with like those foundational archetypes that are love, beauty, wholeness, and that kind of stuff, then there will always be something that will be holding you back. And that something is that foundational belief. So I encourage you and I invite you to think, if you know what spiritual mind treatment is, but you don't do it, why don't you do it? Why don't you practice it? The proof is in the pudding. The proof is the demonstration. When you practice spiritual mind treatment and you see what it is that you are treating for actually come into play, you feel that experience, you have that experience, it is exhilarating, and it is proof that it actually works. So if you are practicing and you're not getting that experience, then I encourage you to take a look at what is your foundational life belief. And if you don't know what your foundational life belief is, then you got to figure it out. Because if there is something in there that says, I don't have enough, if there's something that says life is hard, if there's something that says I'm not worthy, if there's anything that is in any way limiting, then that limiting belief is going to color every single belief that you have. It's going to affect every spiritual mind treatment you do. It's going to affect every single opportunity of collapsing a wave of potentiality into a particle of actuality, or, a thought into a thing, an idea into our life experience. So as we continue choosing, and as we continue becoming more aware, as we continue to maybe dig into some of those beliefs that we didn't even necessarily know that we had, the more we open ourselves up to the opportunity to live a life by design rather than by default. Okay, and that design is further enhanced as you practice spiritual mind treatment, moving energy for a specific purpose. So, in the end, at the end of the chapter, Ernest Holmes writes, Ashley, two things. We should treat until we get results, until there comes into our objective experience the actual outpouring of our subjective words. And this can be sort of squished into a science of mind meme, treat until you demonstrate. Okay. And then at the very end, and again, the word patient is here, so just take this, for yourself. The patient should try to be receptive, not to the will of the practitioner, but to the purpose of the universe. That is, the patient should expect results and should be willing to give up anything and everything that would hinder the demonstration. Perfect belief is the beginning and the end of all good mental work. So, spiritual mind treatment is such an amazing and effective tool to engage in the creative process, in the way that a thought turns into a thing, in the way that an idea turns into our life experience. And the more you practice this practice, the better you get at it. The more feeling and faith you put into it, the more you the more effective the treatment is. And the more you allow yourself to really investigate, what the beliefs are that are holding you back, especially that foundational life belief that you have, the more the activity of choosing matters. And the more the activity of choosing creates the matter in your life that you want to experience, the more you end up living your life by design rather than by default. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. Namaste. So, I just want to thank everyone for joining today, and I want to remind everyone that the center runs on ties, on donations, and we are so grateful for the financial support that everyone gives on a regular basis. If you would like to contribute and are not regularly contributing, then you can always you can always contact Reverend Carrie, and she will get you set up with a stewardship form. You can also go to our website. There is a donate button on our website. You can just click on that and you can donate to our center that way. You can also do it by e-transfer. And if you have any questions, you can also always contact Reverend Carrie at revcarrie@shaw.ca. Okay, so thank you everyone for being here. It has been a joy and a pleasure, and I'm so excited to be able to talk about spiritual mind treatment anytime. And now I would like to just find Reverend Rachel, and I'm going to invite Reverend Rachel to do a beautiful closing prayer for us.
Great. Thank you, Lesia. Thank you for that wonderful talk. Okay. And thank you, God, for blessing each one of us with the inner sight, the inner remembrance of the full meaning of your love that we are saturated in every single second of every day. Thank you for pouring more vibrant color, life force, and more beauty into our hearts than all the color, beauty, and vibrancy about to burst forth in the Bouchard Gardens this spring. Thank you for making our hearts a never-ending season of fireworks and color. Nothing we can imagine parallels the depth, warmth, fullness, and the true meaning of the love that is pouring into us always from you, into, around, through, and out of our being, because we are that miraculous expression of God. And so it is.
From the Chinook blessing to the Bouchard Gardens, what a beautiful way to bookend today's service. Thank you, Reverend Joanna. Thank you, Reverend Carrie. Thank you, Reverend Rachel. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. It has been an honor to be in community with everyone. It has been my pleasure to be in front of you to talk about spiritual mind treatment and a bit more about the creative process. I feel so grateful to be a part of this community, and I just bless everyone in the coming days, in the coming weeks, until we are all together again. Thank you so much. Namaste.